What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Giants Collective. Happy Thursday, the start of week 12. I believe this is week 12 in the NFL season between the Bills and whoever the hell they have tonight, because I could not care less. There is a huge game this week in the NFC East. It does not include us, but we will talk about the New York Giants anyway. As always, I'm joined by Adriana down here, Anthony over there, and Chris down there. You guys do us a favor, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. It helps our channel out big. We've been growing really quick. We picked up over 500 subscribers this month already, so that's awesome. Really appreciate that. You can check us out on TikTok and Instagram. You can check us out wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, and all that good stuff. If you listen to us on Apple and can leave a 5-star review, that would also help us out greatly as we just count down the weeks here till the end of what has been another disastrous season. This part of Giants Collective is brought to you by our friends at Doer, a Vancouver-based apparel making ridiculously comfortable jeans and pants that are actually made to move with you. Chris is wearing his today.
I am.
We're not going to ask him to model them. We'll take his word for it. Their clothes are made from plants and recycled materials, and the fabric is lightweight, breathable, and built to handle your whole day, whether you're commuting, working, or going out. Like I said, Chris is wearing his today. I'm still waiting to get mine. There was a package delivered that I have to pick up. Hopefully it's that. If you want to upgrade your everyday wear, you go to shopdoer.com to check out the most comfortable jeans you'll ever have. That's shopdoer, DUER.com. Use the promo code Giants Collective for 15% off your first order. All you got to do is click the link in the description. It'll automatically put it in there for you. Just click our link, buy some Doer jeans and clothing, find out how comfortable they are for yourself. I'm a jeans guy myself. I always wear jeans when I don't have to go to work. I wear slacks every day in my life. I'd rather wear jeans anyway. So obviously, the big news for the Giants this week is the status of Jackson Dart, whether he's going to play or not. It looks like he's trending that way. I didn't read about his practice day. I know he had limited practice yesterday. Adriana, whether he's cleared to go or not, would you want to rush him back? You think it's good for him to get as many snaps as possible, or would you kind of temper it here?
I think they should give him one more week. He has had quite a few close calls with the concussions, and I just feel like this is the beginning of hopefully a very long career for him, that he should just be protected as long as possible. So I would rather see him sit for one more week. I think that in the grand scheme of things, 2 weeks out of 14 games is fine for his rookie year. If he ends up playing the rest of the season, great. I think he does need to play and he needs the reps, but because it's a concussion, I would say there's no reason to rush him out there. You know, we're not fighting for the playoffs or anything like that. Give him one more week. He'll have the extra day because the next game is a Monday night game. And I just think that concussions really should be taken seriously. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw that interview with Tua. He was asked where he wants to play in Europe, and he was talking about Jerusalem. Like, I just like, let's protect our poor guy's brains like as much as we can. I wish he would wear a guardian cap, but
was this interview like today? I missed it with Tua.
It was. I don't know if it was Sunday. It was within this week.
He said he wanted to play football in Jerusalem.
They asked him, you know, what it was like playing abroad and where else he would like to play in Europe. And he said,
I see. Okay.
Well, you know, in the US, like I'd love to play in Hawaii. But I guess outside the US in Europe, Jerusalem would be pretty cool. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not like a geography major, but I think I can tell you that's not where Jerusalem is. But yeah, anyway, he's so young, and I like all of the things that I see about CTE really freak me out. And I'm like, just give the kid one more week, let him suit up against the Pats, and he will be fine. He's going to get enough reps for the rest of the season that are going to help him play better and everything like that. So I'm fine with him sitting. I don't think they're going to do it, but I wish that they would.
Do you think that's CT or just think he's bad at geography? Because let's be honest, some of these football players are not very bright individuals.
Could have been both, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I think
he said so many questionable things that, like the Jerusalem thing, I'm just like, oh man, you're like, it seems like it's getting worse by the day here for you, buddy.
Maybe he's in the clouds. Who knows? Anthony, what do you think about Jackson Dart's status? If he's cleared to go, you cool with him going, or would you rather him sit out a week? How would you handle this if you were Mike Kafka?
Yeah, me personally, if he's healthy, I want him to play. That's just how I see it. I think every rep is important. I think every game is important. And I think that's how the Giants need to treat these last few games of the season, especially if you're Mike Kafka. I get that there's, you don't want to kind of write a selfish narrative and say that he's going to put Jackson Dart out there no matter what because he needs to win games. But the whole team does need to win games. Mike Kafka is auditioning for the head coaching job. And I think that it's wise for him to put the best 53 men on the field every single week because he needs to prove that he can win games. So he's going to try and do that. And the players need to buy into that. There's been a culture of losing in this organization and in this locker room. And I know one thing that the players can't stand is that by October, not only do a lot of the players give up, but it feels like the coaches give up too. Now you've got this new interim head coach stepping in here, taking control. He can't just be giving up on the season. He needs to prove that he's here to win games. And that's something that's going to be major if he wants to try and win the head coaching job. And I think it's also just important for the players. Plus, I know Jackson Dart doesn't want to sit. I know he wants to play. He's a competitor. If the Giants lose this week and the Seahawks win, the Giants are eliminated from the playoffs. You tell that to Jackson Dart, he's going to say, no matter what, I'm going out there and trying to make sure that we do win. And that's what I want from my young quarterback. And I think that these reps are important. And so if he clears the protocol, I think the Giants medical team is pretty good. I know obviously the Giants do suffer a lot of injuries, but I don't think that they necessarily rush players back all the time. I know Graham Gano keeps having repeat injuries, but for the most part, you've got guys like Wan'Dale Robinson. He tore his ACL when he was a rookie. He's come back and hasn't suffered a single injury since. I just think that they're pretty good with the recovery process. Neighbors had that concussion last season. He missed a couple of games, then he came back. He didn't have another issue with a concussion the rest of the season. So if the Giants training staff and injury staff says that he's ready to go, I'm going to trust their word for it. And I think Jackson Dart is a competitor who wants to be on that field. And I think he should be out there if he's healthy.
The Giants are also, their medical staff is like wildly conservative compared to other medical staffs. Like, I think we're the only team that has every player miss probably more games than other teams' players with the same injuries. Like Landon was not Landon Dickerson. Is it him? I don't know. One of the Eagles offensive linemen has a Liz Frank injury. Yeah. And they're like, oh, we're just going to put him on IR. He'll be back in a couple weeks. I'm like, oh, Andrew Thomas missed like a whole year with the same injury. Like, what on earth? And then every Giants player now has missed an entire week and a half with a concussion. So it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't play on Sunday, but I agree with Anthony in the sense that if he's cleared, they're going to let him play because he went through every step, the medical staff. Like if they really approved it, then as far as they're concerned, he's good to go.
Chris, how would you handle the Jackson Dart situation?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I said a week or two ago that I think the main reason Dable got fired was the way that he handled Jackson Dart. So I have full confidence if Jackson Dart plays this week, the Giants aren't going to have rushed him back. I think they're doing everything proper. And if he plays, I'm going to have confidence that he's 100% a go. I think the Giants are going to do right by Jackson Dart. I don't think they're going to rush him back. But if he plays, I'm going to have confidence that he did everything that he had to do. He passed the protocol. And at that point, I'll feel confident that he's out there. But I also don't want to rush him back. I mean, I want to make sure he's 100% before they do it. But I don't think they'd put him out there in what is otherwise a meaningless game, if we're being honest, if he wasn't 100%. I agree with Anthony that he needs the reps, but you don't rush him back out there unless he's 100%. And it seems as if it's at least trending over the last couple of days that he's going to play. If he doesn't play this week, he's certainly going to play against New England. But based on what I read today, at least on Twitter from Jordan Renan and some of the other insiders for the New York Giants, it appears like it's at least trending that he's going to play on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Concussions they can be contagious. I remember that happened to Sterling Shepard a lot. It seemed like he would get concussed, come back, get concussed again. I guess it really just depends on the person. I don't know anything about concussions. And obviously the NFL's going to extremes to protect these guys from it. I mean, when I was growing up, guys would play with that crap all the time. I can remember 1986 and Jim Burt just killing Joe Montana, just killed him. I mean, he slammed into Joe Montana, couldn't even stand up. He didn't know where he was. And I remember, he didn't come back and play. I mean, the Giants were up 28-3 at halftime, but I can remember I don't know if it was Will McDonough. I forgot the sideline reporter was outside the locker room and said, Joe Montana's got a concussion. He's questionable. Like, I remember them saying that, or he'll probably be a go. I think he even said that he's probable to play in the second, which he didn't. But just to tell you the difference, the way they handle these things now, I don't know. I think each concussion is different. I do think if that the Giants medical, and it has to be cleared by the medical staff. That's not Kafka's decision.
And it's an independent doctor. It's not a Giants.
That's what I'm saying. It's not like the Giants can say you're playing, we think you're good. So he has to be medically cleared. And then Kafka can make the decision if he wants to put him out there or not. As a Giants fan that's looking at his team that's 2-9 and tries to find any reason to watch. Now, there's no Neighbors and there's no Scattaboo, and the season is over. Jackson Dart is the one guy that any Giants fan, I think, is sitting there watching going, I can't wait to see him play. Nobody's looking forward to seeing Jalen Hyatt out there, except Anthony. I know Anthony likes to watch Jalen Hyatt play. Darius Slayton, nobody's looking to watch Darius Slayton play. Nobody's going, I can't wait to watch Theo go out there. Nobody's looking at anybody. Maybe Brian Burns. But I can't think of another player where you sit down and watch.
I'll tell you where I'm excited about over the last 6 games is Abdul Carter. I really want to end the season with a positive feeling about Abdul Carter. I hope he finishes the year strong. So that's a guy I'm personally excited to see over the last 5 years.
I mean, you want to see him develop without question. Yeah. Again, that's been a big thing on Twitter. Because I think I asked, honest opinion, what do you think of his rookie season? Then a bunch of other people asked about it or whatever. Are you disappointed? I'm like, I'm not disappointed at all. I think he's going to be just fine. He's a rookie. We have a really bad defensive coordinator. So, but as far as Jackson Dart goes, if the Giants feel if he clears protocol and they think he's good to go, selfishly, I want to watch him play. Unselfishly, I'm like, just give him an extra week. Just make sure he's 1,000% clear. Don't, have him go in there again, because the next time, who knows? I just get a little bit worried when these guys get bruised brains. You know what I mean? It's a different part. It's a different organ than every other part of your freaking body. You can recover from shoulders and elbows and everything else, knees and ankles and whatever, but your brain is your brain. So I don't know, man. I want to watch him play, but I just don't. I'm going to get worried every time I see him hit. I'll probably do want to, cringe a little bit. Like, you want him to get up. So I think that's always a worry anyway. When you see a guy, he's been checked out more than once. This isn't it's his first concussion, but it's not the first time he's been checked for one. So I just always get a little bit concerned when it comes to that. But I mean, if he's clear to play and he goes out there, obviously we're rooting for the kid. I think Detroit's got not a great defense. They're in a controlled environment in a dome. There's no reason to think Jackson Dart can't put up pretty good numbers. He's put up good numbers all year. I want him to continue. I want him to get better every week, because he is our future, and he's one of the bright spots of our future. So we'll see what they do. But, I'm not an expert. So if they think he's good to go, then I got to trust them.
Ultimately, my fear is just Jackson Dart's style of play more than anything else. Like, he can't continue, in my opinion, at least, he can't continue to play the way that he's been playing. He's entered the blue tent like 3 or 4 times this year. He's got to learn to slide and avoid contact more than he's done it.
Yeah. I don't see. Obviously, Brian Dable can't chase him into the tent now, so he's got to do it alone. As far as the injury updates go, the Giants have a grocery list of players on the injury list. Anthony, how can the Giants overcome this? What do you think about the guys? Do you think like Slayton obviously has a hamstring problem, or corners are banged up, or quarterback's got the concussion protocol? Who do you think plays? Who do you think sits? What do you think of this whole situation?
I mean, listen, the Giants are a bad football team right now. They're going to be hurt because they're a bad football team. I think when you get to this point in the season and some of these guys are injured and they don't play, it's because there's no point. Right. I think last season, if the Giants were in the playoff hunt, if they had 7 wins by week 9 and Dexter Lawrence injured his elbow, I'm pretty sure he would have played through that injury. Right. Same thing with Andrew Thomas. We just talked about the Dickerson playing on the list, Frank. The Giants season was lost. Why would Andrew Thomas go out there and potentially make that worse? So I think that's where the conservative nature of the Giants and their injury report comes from, is because this team is just constantly losing football games, that there's no point in risking further injury to these guys and asking them to go out there and play through injuries and aggravate anything. Now, I want to see everybody out there. I want to see the Giants compete and try and win these games. I want Kayvon Thibodeau to go out there and try and boost his sack numbers. I want Paulson Adebo to go ahead and get an interception this season. I want to see all these guys plays, but the reality of it is, it doesn't really make a difference. The Giants are 1 loss away from being eliminated from the playoffs. The first team eliminated from the playoffs. So whatever, right? That's an accomplishment. At least we're
something good. Something we can do before anybody else.
Right. First at something, just not the right something. But I don't know, man. I just think that's really where all the injuries come from. It's just because this team is so bad, and there's not really a point in rushing anybody back from the injuries.
And that's a great point, Anthony. And it's why I think when people always bring up that the Giants are like the most injured team in the NFL over the last 10 years, that has something to do with it. If the Giants had something to play for, they wouldn't have as many injuries as they've had, because when you have 5-6 games to go in the season and there's nothing to play for, and you have guys worrying about next year's contract, and as the general manager worrying about that player being healthy for the next season, you're not going to force them to go out there and play. So I think that skews the numbers a bit too, in terms of their overall injury history for the Giants and just bad teams in general.
What do you think about this whole thing with their injuries as far as that goes?
Yeah, I agree with what Anthony said. I think, especially as the season prolongs, I don't think if a guy's like, 80%, he's probably not going to play. I don't think the Giants are going to force guys to go out there and play that aren't 100. Well, you're never 100% when you play football, especially as the year goes along. But if guys are a little bit dinged up, they're not going to force them to go out there and play, just like last year. I think they're not going to want to risk injuries. Now, Jackson Dart's another discussion, because it is incredibly valuable for him, especially in his rookie year, to get as many reps as possible. If he's 100%, he's going to play. But guys like Andrew Thomas, Dexter Lawrence, if those guys get dinged up, I would expect them to, not that they're dinged up now, but if they were, I wouldn't expect them to force them to go out there and play, much like last year.
Yeah. John, what do you think about the injury situation here with the Giants?
It's a cluster like it usually is. I am just glad that Rico Payton is healthy, and same thing with Corey Black, because I hope that means that we're not going to see Tay Banks on Sunday. I think, at this point, that's like when you talk about people that we're excited to watch, like literally anyone but Tay Banks. Like, give me Rico Payton, give me Corey Black. Like, I'd rather just watch them and just see what they're capable of, because I'm done with Tay Banks. I'm so sick of the conversation that we even have to deal with him every week. And he was on the injury report this week with a hip, but I think he was limited. Yeah, he was limited again today. But the good news is that Chauncey Golston and Nacho, both who have been out for the last week, Chauncey Golston's been out forever, but
Friday was on the
Nacho
team.
should be back. So.
I was about to say the same thing, Baddog. I forgot that Chauncey Golston was even on this team. I was excited about when the year started.
He's played like one game, I think. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you want to talk about injuries too. It's him and Newbin with the neck injury, Golston with the neck, like all of these neck stuffs, the hamstrings. I mean, I think the hamstrings are inevitable, but Gano
had a neck injury too.
Yeah, it just feels like it's the same injuries over and over again. And it's, I don't know what the solution is. The only thing I will say is, like, I know we lost Neighbors and Scat, but the fact that, like, I'm afraid to say this out loud, the offensive line, has held it together. Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence. Like, I think that's what's really upsetting to me too, is that outside of Neighbors and Scat, obviously huge blows to the offense, but we've still been able to put up points and move the ball. And the defense, like, I know we lost Micah McFadden and Adebo for a few games, but what's everyone else's excuse? Like, Kayvon's only missed one game at this point, and maybe he'll miss this Sunday too. I don't know. It's just frustrating. Usually like, oh, we lost, our starters across the board on both sides. We lost Andrew Thomas. We lost Jones. We lost, whoever. And it's like, all right, I can excuse that as to why we're not putting up points and winning games, but I can't excuse the defense losing Micah McFadden and being like, we suck at everything now.
Yeah, it's just injuries every year for us. But I agree with you guys. I think if we had something to play for, I think a lot of these nagging injuries, those guys are out there. I don't think there's any question about it, because I think if you're in the playoff hunt, these guys are going to find ways to, freaking get out there and get it done. They're going to want to get to the postseason. They're not going to want to have to, they're not going to miss any time if they have an opportunity. But when you're 2-9 and your season's over, they're probably just going to say, not feeling it today, coach, because you got nothing to play for. So you're going to sit there and you're going to want to protect yourself as well. I think Anthony's one that mentioned the contracts, and maybe Chris mentioned it, but if these guys are playing for contracts, especially free agents, they're not going to want to have some kind of serious injury going into the offseason. So they may be
all you got to do is look at Saquon Barkley. It's not a coincidence. Right. It's not a coincidence that after we franchise tagged him the next year, you could clearly tell that he wasn't playing at the same level he was the year before. He wasn't putting his body on the line, because players think about that next contract 100%.
Yep. So that's, and when you're 2-9, it's understandable why you would think about yourself first as opposed to the team, because your team sucks and you're going nowhere. But yeah, the injuries are frustrating without question. And Adriana said it. The fact that we lost two of our best offensive player, and if you want to count Andrew Thomas, I mean, okay. But like Malik Neighbors, obviously we lost him for the year in week 3. Jackson Dart got to throw like 2 passes to him. Then he was scat a few weeks later, and this offense still is winning games until the defense blows it for them. The fact they've been able to do that with that team, I mean, Jackson Dart's been really good, but I think we got to give Kafka some credit. I mean, my God, the fact that the Giants are 3rd in the NFL in rushing touchdowns, that is insane.
Because Dart's got like 7 or whatever.
Yeah, so but it is crazy though, Dart or not, that they have, the 3rd most. Indianapolis is 1st. I forgot who's 2nd. I don't know if it's Buffalo. It might be Buffalo because Josh Allen gets a lot of them, and obviously James Cook does too. Might be Buffalo, might be 2nd. But the fact they're 3rd in rushing touchdowns, I mean, when's the hell's the last time we were up there in rushing touchdowns?
I'll tell you who else needs a lot of credit, and I don't care who the head coach is next year for the New York Giants. Carmen Braceau needs to stay because I think the offensive line is, for me, is as big of a reason as any for why this Giants offense has been as surprising as they've been with the guys out that we've mentioned. The Giants offensive line has looked as good as it has in a long time in terms of on a consistent basis. They've got to find a way to keep Carmen Braceau in this building next year.
Hold that thought because we're going to get to that next.
Okay.
This portion of Giants Collective brought to you by our friends at Manta Sleep. Are you tired of waking up before your alarm because the sun hits your face? The Manta Original Sleep Mask blocks out every bit of light so you can actually sleep. True 100% blackout, blocks all light, even around the nose and sides for complete darkness. It has adjustable eye cups, soft memory foam cups that can be positioned to fit your face perfectly without any eye pressure. It fits all head sizes and stays in place through the night. The Manta Sleep Mask blocks every bit of light so you get real uninterrupted darkness. Real eye cups adjust to fit your face just right and never press in your eyes. Plus, the soft, breathable fabric keeps you comfortable all night long. Just go to mantasleep.com and use the promo code NYG to get 10% off your first order. That's mantasleep.com. Enter the promo code NYG, get 10% off. And also with Manta Sleep, by the way, a perfect way to watch the Giants on Sunday. I mean, these guys, or if you're Abdul Carter, it's a really good way to sleep through meetings. I mean, they really ought to be the official mask. It's like sleep mask of the New York Giants because, like I said, you want to watch the 4th quarter like that. We think Shane Bowen calls us plays like this. Abdul Carter likes to take a little siesta now and again. So it's perfect. Check out Manta. And it keeps me from sleeping with I don't need to put the pillow over my face.
They should give the Manta mask as a giveaway for the fans the last game of the year. That would be a more productive giveaway than the medium Pepsi. That would be a fan appreciation. At least allow them to get some sleep during the last game.
I definitely feel much safer wearing this as well because if I sleep with a pillow on my face and I piss my wife off, I'm always afraid she might just move it down like 4 inches. And then, we're not doing this show. I'm not doing this show anymore. But you never know. So anyway, check out Manta Sleep. Chris, to your point, how good the offensive line has been, they're ranked 11th, which I don't remember the last time we were ranked 11th. And Adriana mentioned it is a little disappointing when you think about how good the offensive line has been because you always just say if we could just have an average offensive line, we'd win some football games. Well, here we are. We're almost top 10, and we're 2-9. But how good has his offensive line been, especially since Andrew Thomas got back?
Yeah, it's not, by no means is it a finished product. I'm always going to be a guy that loves the 300-pound men that is going to hammer the table for trying to improve that offensive line year in and year out. I always believe in drafting linemen regardless of how good your line is because that is the most important position in terms of depth, in my opinion, on a football roster. So, but it is a huge step up. And, yes, of course, Andrew Thomas is the biggest reason for that. We were without Andrew Thomas the majority of last year. We've seen with this offensive – the Giants – go from a bad offense, in recent years to like the worst offense of all time when Andrew Thomas isn't in the lineup. So when Thomas got inserted back into the lineup, of course, you knew that the Giants offensive line was going to take a step up, but it's been a lot better than I thought it was going to be for the most part. I mean, they went up against a really good pass rush last week, did a really good job against Green Bay, gave Jameis Winston plenty of time to make plays down the field. They were able to establish the ground game as well. That was as good as they've looked on the ground outside of that.
They ran the ball great.
Yeah, outside of the first Eagles game this year, that's as good as they've looked in terms of running the football. So, yeah, I mean, and to me, the biggest plus over the last 3 or 4 weeks has been JMS. I think JMS has looked better and better and better as the season's gone along, which is really encouraging because you want him to be that long-term center. We know we got our left tackle. When Thomas is on the field, he's as good as anybody. They have to find a way to keep Illuminor. And I would anticipate they're probably going to try to spend a relatively high draft pick on a guard, but I'm really excited about this offensive line. I'm as optimistic about the future for that as much as anything else on this roster right now. Of course, Jackson Dart's the big piece. He's the quarterback. But for a guy that has always preached fix the offensive line, I feel like it's finally trending in the right direction, and which is why I do not want them to lose Carmen Brasillo. Keep him here at all costs.
Yep. Adriana, how good has the line been?
It's been actually fun to watch. Like, it's so nice to watch a game and be like, oh my God, my quarterback has time to get through his reads and make a decision and wait until someone's open to throw the ball. On top of that, they've done a nice job in run blocking. Not amazing, but good enough that they've opened up some nice holes. And it's been really enjoyable. Like, I know there's a lot of things to complain about on this team, but like we have all said, for the first time in a long time, it's finally not the offensive line. And we all just thought if the offensive line did their job, like, we'd be able to win some football games, and at least we can move the ball and we can score touchdowns, which is an upgrade over last year. But I'm with Chris. Give Carmen Brasillo whatever he wants. Resign every offensive lineman except maybe GVR and look for an upgrade there in the draft. Maybe move Marcus Bowe over there. I don't know. But I would bring back most of them. I would give Carmen Brasillo whatever he wants, and I would be going after one in the draft because, like Chris said too, like, the offensive line is always going to need help. It's always going to need upgrades. You should always be drafting and trying to improve it and make those players better. And we all know firsthand what happens with the injuries. You've got to have someone who, next man up, is actually going to be able to step in and play well, not just step up there and be a body. And, you know, you're losing Evan Neal. You're losing some of these like depth pieces. Evan Neal's not really a depth piece, but you know what I mean? Like, they're losing guys that are offensive linemen on this team. You got to bring some other ones in. And, you know, I know we've already talked about this, and I know we'll get into this, I'm sure, during the bye week, but that's one of my biggest concerns with them keeping Joe Shane, is that he's just going to be like, well, the offensive line is fine. Let's just not make any changes. And I'm going to be so upset if that is the case.
I wouldn't be happy if he did that.
I don't think he'll do that. And they want to phrase this to you a little bit differently. This is the same offensive line that last year, is it not?
Minus Andrew Thomas.
I guess that would be the big. I guess
Thomas.
that's the big difference. But how impressed are you with this? So I don't think any of us could have fathomed they'd be in the top third of the NFL as far as offensive line rankings. How impressed have you been with them? And is this just a matter of, for the most part, knock on wood, they have been healthy and they've been able to gel and be able to play with one another and understand? And Brasillo coaching them up. Does it have to do with Carmen Brasillo? What do you think the reason is for their success?
I do think the continuity is key. I think having these guys gel alongside each other, like you just said, is crucial. You know, in the past, John Michael Schmitz had a different guy on his left shoulder and right shoulder every single week. There were so many injuries at guard, and there were so many kind of poor performances at guard. He had different guys alongside him every week, and I think that really stunted his growth and made it challenging for him to understand what his assignment is and how to pass off his assignments to the other guards and kind of what the scheme looks like. But now that you've had the same two guards on either side of John Michael Schmitz this entire season, there's clarity. And I think that's really important. And that's why John Michael Schmitz is taking that step forward. And also, when you're seeing Greg Van Roten, that guy's like 35 years old and he's playing at this level. You got to give credit to him for doing that, for staying healthy and for playing at such a high level. Even an average to above level at that age is really impressive. But you also have to give a lot of credit to Carmen Brasillo for that. And I think what the Giants did really good here with this offensive line was building with continuity in mind. So I mentioned the continuity with John Michael Schmitz and all these guys staying healthy. That's important. But you also have to look at Carmen Brasillo. He's been with Jermaine Illuminor. I think this is his fourth consecutive season now coaching him, maybe even longer, because I think Brasillo was all the way back in New England when Jermaine Illuminor, maybe he was in New England too. So he's been coaching Jermaine Illuminor pretty much Illuminor's entire career. So that's why you're seeing a guy like this have a late career blossom. It's because he's had continuity for at least the 4 years when he was with the Las Vegas Raiders, and now, of course, the last 2 years with the New York Giants. So that continuity is crucial. And also, same thing can be said about Greg Van Roten, who was with the Raiders and then came over to the Giants following Carmen Brasillo. So the Giants definitely found a gem in that assistant coach. Credit to Brian Dable for hiring Carmen Brasillo. I'll give him a lot of credit for that. But Brasillo clearly has great connections and relationships with these players because they left Las Vegas to come be coached by Brasillo, and now he's getting the most out of them here for New York Giants roster that has really struggled to have a good offensive line in years past.
And the other thing, Anthony, look at the Raiders' offensive line since Brasillo left. Like when Brasillo was there, I remember
Really
when the Giants hired Brasillo, what impressed me the most was they had I think one of the 2 years, they had 17 different starting offensive lines that year because they had so many injuries, and they still ranked, I think, top 10 or top 12 in both years while he was the offensive line coach there. And now since he's left, the Raiders are one of the worst offensive lines in the league. I thought you brought up a good point about continuity. I remember I was bringing that up constantly going into the year, why I was excited, why I thought this offensive line could be better than people thought. Not that I thought it would be this good, because continuity is such an important thing. We remember, Bad Dog, going back to the Super Bowl teams, 2007, 2008. That offensive line took years to get to that point. It takes time to play together and build with one another before you get to that level. So that position, more so than any other, continuity is such an important thing, not just with the players online, but keeping and retaining the same offensive line coach. The Eagles have had one of the best offensive line coaches in the league for years. The Patriots used to have one of the greatest. So it's important to keep Brasillo here, in my opinion. And I agree. I don't want too much change on the line. I do think we need an upgraded guard, but overall, you want to try to keep this thing intact as much as you can.
Let me throw this out to the panel. Obviously, the offensive line has improved. We're going to give Brasillo credit for that. We're going to give the players credit for that. How much of the improvement of the line is due to the quarterbacks that
for
are
sure.
The line?
Massive.
Yeah, for sure.
So
they're not taking sacks that they,
Yeah, I mean, because Russ obviously didn't end up being what we against Dallas. He did. I mean, we can't get Russ. Russ had 2 bad games. He had a bad game week 1. He had a bad game against the Chiefs. Not that the Chiefs are an easy defense to beat. I'm not making excuses for Russ. But Russ was fantastic against Dallas. I mean, that last interception threw was kind of like a Hail Mary. So it is what it is. But the guy threw for 450 yards and 3 touchdowns. But I'm pretty sure we were like, well, Russ ain't going to sit back there and take sacks. He'll get rid of the ball. But he did take some sacks. But the fact, I think, that Dart, again, a good quarterback can make your line. I'm not saying the line has not been good. But the fact that Dart, we have talked about this ad nauseum, and it's not ad nauseum because it's a good thing to talk about. His poise, his composure, his feel for the pocket, his ability to climb the pocket, his ability to feel backside pressure and to get out of there and to not hold on to the ball, to run to the right or the left. I think he's got to learn to throw the ball away better sometimes. But the fact that he can feel all that pressure and he knows, like he's got that clock in his head, I got to get out of here. Like this is going to collapse, and he doesn't take sacks. I think that helps a lot too. So as Dart plays more with this offensive line and vice versa, I think it's only going to get better. Yeah. And, especially when you get a guy like Malik Neighbors who can get open right away because he's supposed to be number 1. And if you add a Jordan Tyson or a Carnell Tate alongside of him, it's going to be that much better. So I am very excited. It's been a long time since we can actually praise the Giants offensive line. They have been fantastic in what has been a really bad season. And I'm glad that I think it was Adriana that brought up the talking points of the show. I'm glad you brought it up because that is such an underrated aspect and probably goes really unnoticed by a lot of people because we're such a bad team and nobody's thinking about how good the offensive line has been. And it's been awesome, especially compared to what it has been. So,
well, and something that going into the season, we were all concerned about it, not knowing whether or not Andrew Thomas was going to be ready and also thinking like you can't throw your rookie quarterback out there until you see progress with this offensive line. And the fact that they've been playing well too, I'm sure that's doing a number for Jackson Dart, thinking I can rely on these guys. I can trust them. They have my back and they're doing their job. Well, I can kind of get through my reads and figure out where to go with the ball here. So, I can't imagine. I mean, I guess we saw it with Daniel Jones, except it wasn't his rookie year. But, I can't imagine being a rookie and being thrown into this when you have an offensive line who's not doing anything to help you. Like, it's bad enough he lost Neighbors and Scat. At least the offensive line, is helping him out so he can get the ball to everyone else.
Yeah. And you think about, for me, for the offensive line to look And again, I don't want to overhype it because I still think they need to continue to get a lot better.
They need to get better. Yeah, 11th is great. We want to be top 5.
Yeah, but for the offensive line to look as good as they have without Malik Neighbors in the lineup, when the offense is so much more predictable to guard against for a defense, when you factor in you're going to have Neighbors back next year, we're probably going to add another top-tier wide receiver off the edge. If you get a good offensive play caller in here, whether it be the head coach or the offensive coordinator next year with a healthy Jackson Dart, Giants offense could be really good next year, and I think that's exciting if you're a Giants fan. Now we got to get the defense right, but I definitely am very optimistic about the future of this offense.
Me too, without question. That brings us to the Q&A portion of Giants Collective. Of course, the first portion of the Q&A is brought to you by our friends at SeatGeek. Let's hear from them. 80 seconds. Go get your coffee. Go take care of business. Come back 80 seconds. We'll be back with the questions right after this. What's going on, guys and gals? You looking for a fun activity? You want to get out of the house? You need something to do? Are you looking for a great gift idea? Well, if so, look no farther than the sponsor of Giants Collective, which is SeatGeek. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There's more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Giants season is underway. And say you want to check out Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders at MetLife Stadium? Well, it's easy. Just go to SeatGeek, scroll around, look for the tickets that you want, and SeatGeek's going to have your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Look for the green dots. That's good. The red dots, well, it's not so good. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use the code Giants Collective for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with the promo code Giants Collective. Make sure you click that link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek, for sponsoring Giants Collective, and let's go Giants! I can't wait till I have that energy again in August. Looking forward to August.
I'm looking for that energy next year in December. That's what I'm
looking forward to. Yes, that'd be great. Looking forward to the draft at this point, isn't it, man? We always look forward to the draft before Thanksgiving. Well, it's always a question. What's going to come first, Christmas music or Giants fans talking about the draft? And we all know Christmas music starts about November 1st, so we can't even get there before we start thinking about the draft. So one of these days, we're going to be talking about meaningful football for the Giants after Christmas music is on.
You're talking about Christmas music. I want to get past trick-or-treaters.
Well, they're one and the same. I think we got past the 31st this year. I think we did.
Well, only because of Jackson Dart, but yeah.
Right. So baby steps. Next year we get the things. No, next year we're getting past Christmas. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Let's get it done. Let's win some damn games. I hate being 2-0 every year. Same thing. I really want to be 9-2 one year. Imagine our attitude on this. I mean, we have fun anyway.
If we go 1-0 next year, it will immediately just like
hang the banner, Audrey.
Right direction. Yeah.
We go 1-0. We'll hang a banner.
We'll be talking about the Super Bowl if we're going 1-0 next year.
Great if we go 1-0 without question. It's tough in these streets as a Giants fan. Yuri, thank you so much. He says, fire Bonehead. Please.
I mean, I think every Giants fan in the world agrees with you. I agree with you. I think everybody on this panel agrees with you. I just don't know if they're going to do it. He's going to get fired. It's just a matter of does it happen in season or in 6 or 7 weeks or whenever the year ends. But it's happening, I promise you. But I know we all want our pound of flesh, and we should get it. He, like Baddog said 2 days ago, rather, he's been garbage. He's been awful. But if it doesn't happen in the next 2 weeks, I don't think it happens. I at that point, I think they let him close out the year. So if they're going to do it, I think it'll be over the next 2 weeks.
Pound of flesh. He's like 230 pounds. So 230 pounds of flesh is what we need. I can't believe he's only 38.
Yeah, I saw somebody post that on.
I thought he was my age. I thought he was 50.
Because of the gray and the beard.
Older.
Yeah.
Kafka's also only 38 years old. I get a lot. I've got a few people tell me I look like Kafka. I'm like, I'll take it as a comment. He's 12 years younger than I am, so I look like I'm fine. Whatever. Somebody actually put that on my thing, and they're like, "You should coach." I'm like, just because I look like him, no, I mean, I know what the hell I'm doing, man. I am no coach. I don't pretend to be a coach. My job is to criticize them, not to be them. That's my job. Oh God, let's see if I don't know what this means. Let's see if I can read this one from our friend Tutto. Grazie paesano. Saluti a mia amici, I should say, e a tutti I grandi tifosi americani. Siamo oggi a tutti tornati a casa e speriamo che I gigante vicano di nuovo qualche volta. Thank you, Tutto. Grazie. That's all I know.
To me, Bad Dog. You get a in my book.
I get it good because I don't know what that means. I don't see fat fuck Dumbo in there. I was waiting for that. That one I know.
Yeah.
Tutto, what is fat fuck Dumbo in Italian? We got to learn that one.
It's in that sentence. He says it every time he types. So
It's got to be right somewhere. Age 50, thank you. He says if the Giants hire Shula or McCarthy, because the Giants keep Kafka as an OC, Dart is putting up points in this offense, and Winston is doing well in it also. I'm afraid if it changes, we might struggle. That's actually a good question. If Kafka is going to get head coaching consideration, I don't think there's any question. But if he goes out in interviews and he doesn't get a head coaching job, do you think he would come back to the Giants? If he didn't get the job here, do you think he would come back to the Giants as an OC if Mike McCarthy said, "I want you to be my offensive coordinator"?
Would he? I think so, but I'm leaning that McCarthy would want to bring in a guy of his choice, and that's likely not going to be Kafka.
I'm saying if Kafka was his choice, would he? It doesn't mean I'm saying anyway.
He can get a head coaching job. I see no reason why he wouldn't.
Yeah, I think if he has the option, he would. There's been a lot of speculation too from beat writers that he would because his family's here, his kids are young, he wouldn't want to uproot them. But I think the question is like, does he sign a long-term deal? Does he want to be here for that long? Like, I think he wants to be a head coach at some point. So I think that would be part of it. Like, is he willing just to take, I don't know. I guess it depends on what deal they give the new head coach. But I don't hate it. My thing is I would like to see what Jackson does what he does for the rest of the season under Kafka, because the speculation up until now has been, well, the only reason why Dart has improved every week is because of Dable, and only because of Dable, because Dable's been running the offense, even though he hasn't been calling the plays. He's been running the offense. He's been working really closely with Dart. He's been helping him improve every week. So I think Kafka's going to be great for Dart, but I think until we see it on the field, we don't really know. So I'm really curious. And that's part of the reason why I think that we need to see Dart for the rest of the season once he's cleared, because I want to see if he does continue to improve, knowing that he lost it as head coach. He's facing this adversity. He's got to, report kind of to a new guy. Like, obviously he's worked very closely with Kafka, but it's not the same thing. So I'm curious to see how that goes with Dart, but I think the Giants would love to retain Kafka, and if that's an option, I think they would really push for it.
I want to give a shout out to Carb Free because he just took the point that I was about to say. That is the scenario where I would think there's a very good chance Kafka could be back. Not that I'm predicting the Giants would hire Steve Spagnuolo as the head coach, but if they were to, the Kansas City ties with Andy Reid, Mike Kafka, I think that's the most likely scenario. Kafka would be back if he didn't get a head coaching job, if Spagnuolo was the head coach. But
Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really dependent on what side of the ball the head coach is coming from. I think the Kafka, Kansas City, and Spagnuolo connection makes a lot of sense, but also the fact that Spagnuolo is a defensive-minded coach. So he probably has an idea of what he wants his defense to look like. And he might say, okay, you know what? Kafka's playbook, I like it. It's got similar concepts to what I was familiar with in Kansas City, and Dart already knows it, so that's fine. But if it were a Mike McCarthy coming in or somebody like that, they might say, okay, here's this playbook. This is what I want my offense to look like. Can Kafka run that? Does he even want to run that? Because Kafka might have become attached to the playbook that he's developed over the last several years here with the New York Giants. It's a lot of Kansas City concepts, which is a very West Coast offense. But if you have an offensive-minded head coach coming in who says, I want to run an air raid or I want to run something a little more run and shoot, no, Kafka's probably not going to stay because he's not going to want to run that playbook. He'll get opportunities elsewhere to run his playbook because there are going to be teams that fire their offensive coordinators and say, we want a brand new offense. And he already has a playbook that is ready to be installed. So I think a lot of it does depend on which side of the ball that coordinator potentially that they hire comes from. And even if it's like a Chris Shula, let's imagine that he's a defensive coordinator, but I don't even know if he would be interested in a Mike Kafka, because the playbook that they run in that kind of Rams, Shanahan, McVay offense is very different from the one in the Dable, Kafka kind of West Coast realm. So I think it's really just going to depend on who the head coach is.
Yeah.
Right. LA Lou, thank you, buddy. All you have left this season are moral victories. You have to get a competitive mindset going into next season thinking we can beat these guys. I agree. I think sometimes a good end of the season will translate to the beginning of the next season, but every season is different. But with these young guys in here, I definitely think they need the competitive mindset, because we've talked about a lot of the veterans, your Darius Slaytons, your Dexter Lawrences, guys that have been here know nothing but losing. Perhaps it just wears on them. Here's another year where we're 2-9. I'm not going to put my best foot forward. I just don't have it in me. I just don't really care at this point. I just want the season over. Again, am I ever going to win? No matter how well I play, we keep losing. They lose concentration. I mean, the human, but you do have a different regime now. There's no more Brian Dable. You do have a rookie quarterback, and you do have a rookie running back, and you're going to have a third-year superstar wide receiver, and you have a third-year tight end, and you have a very young group of guys that only know losing the last couple of years. And Dart doesn't know anything about it. And Scott, you want to change the culture. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to try to win games. The Giants aren't here tanking. There's no quarterback in the draft. If the Giants pick second overall tomorrow, I'm pretty sure they would trade that back. I don't know why they wouldn't.
Very least, yeah. I'm usually not a believer in carryover, like building momentum from one year to the next. I usually don't think it translates, as evidenced by the Giants. Like, there's been times where I've had that mindset, oh, they finished strong, maybe that'll carry over into next year. But I think in this specific scenario, at least with Jackson Dart, I think there's definitely potential carryover. If he could finish the year, I think back to Eli's rookie year, which was atrocious, but he finished with that, with the game-winning drive. And there's something to build off of. There's something to carry over going into the next year. But by the same token, we don't even have our head coach for next year on this team yet. So I don't know how much would translate. But for Dart specifically, I could see some carryover.
Yeah. Last portion of Giants Collective brought to you by our friends at Sleeper, the fastest growing app out there, without question. A couple awesome promotions going. Let's hear from Sleeper. 30 seconds back after this for the rest of your questions.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using the code HMA. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
Yeah, there's also another part to that Sleeper, by the way. If you guys don't have a Sleeper account and would like to try it, all you got to do is click the link in the description. That's it. Click the link, open a brand new Sleeper account, and get $20 for nothing. So that's a great, you can't beat that. I don't know how much longer that's going to last, so take advantage of it. Click the link in the description, open a Sleeper account, you get $20, no credit card, no debit card, no deposit required. You get $20. And if you like it, want to make a deposit, you're still eligible for the 100% match deposit bonus. So check out Sleeper, terms and conditions apply, have fun, win some cash. And let's go Giants. Maybe, maybe not. Tutto, grazie. Bad Dog, my mate saying Jerusalem's located in the Middle East, mate. Please don't make Europe look bad. All smartphones got to go. I'm not saying it was there. Tua Tagovailoa said that, not me. I know where Jerusalem is. Tua didn't know where it was.
I gotta watch that Tua clip after this. I did not see that.
My favorite part was when they asked him where he wants to play in Europe, and he said Hawaii, and he was like, "Oh wait, that's United States." Like, that was the best part, was that his mind immediately went Hawaii, and it was like, no, to Europe. Oh, okay, Jerusalem, and then
Hawaii?
it was like double wrong.
From Hawaii?
Yeah, I think he might have just misheard the report. I'm hoping.
Well, it must have been
yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
But it was funny nonetheless. The fact that he got it wrong both times just made it 10 times funnier.
Oh, Tua, man. There's been a lot of talk too about Mike McDaniel, if he gets fired, that he could be the Giants OC. And I feel like a lot of people would be on board with that. Like, I'd be fine with him as an OC. I don't want him coming anywhere near here as a head coach, but him as an OC, I think would be great.
As an OC, sign me up for sure. Yeah.
Especially if Chris Shula ends up becoming the head coach, because there's some connections there with the Shanahan McVay kind of style. So I could totally see that.
Mm.
Slink, thank you so much. He says Bowen is a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator, MVP, GOAT for Giants opponents. Yeah, he's making some offensive players rich.
He should legitimately try to become an offensive coordinator because he knows how to run goals and defenses. So
yeah, I don't know what the hell he needs to do. He needs to learn how to just get the hell out of Dodge. He should just resign. I've done a terrible job. Instead of saying the same thing every week, we didn't make enough plays. I'm so sick and tired. It's like they recorded that press conference week 1 and they've just looped it ever since. That's really what it is. Tutto, grazie, paesana, grazie, says Bad Dog. We're 9-4 as we speak. Please pray for my victims.
I wish that was the Giants.
Love it.
Yeah, same. Yeah, exactly. Why can't the Giants be 9-4, Tutto? That'd be nice. 4-9 is good here. You know, that Vegas game ought to be a good one. We probably gonna win that one. They're really bad.
I think we have a good chance to win that one. Yeah,
they're really bad. I think we could beat Washington too, if I'm being honest.
And Dallas. And I think we could beat Dallas just because their defense is so bad. I think Dark could.
Yeah,
40.
They got Quentin Williams now. I'll see if that makes any.
I'm not saying we will beat them, but I think we have a chance.
It is at home for us, so we'll see.
We're not stopping their offense.
No, God, Dak might go over 600 yards, and CeeDee Lamb's like, when we play the Giants, they can't wait. Bob, thank you so much. He says, I wonder if Mrs. Shane and Mrs. Dable are still buddies, like it was portrayed in Hard Knocks. Things make you go,
Now, is he like legitimately talking about their wives, or is he saying that they're misses? I don't know. Did they portray their wives in Hard Knocks? I honestly don't know.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
honestly don't.
Yeah, they were really friendly in the Hard Knocks.
Were they? Yeah,
actually. Yeah.
Well, I don't think Joe Shane made that decision, so
but the way the Hard Knocks kind of presented things, and obviously it's skewed because it's just somebody filming things and filming specific moments, but it presented like the Shane family and the Dable family were all very close. Like they were all best friends. So that really does kind of, I haven't thought about that in a long time, but it does make it even more interesting how there's been so many reports this year that they've been very individual and that they kind of separated and went down different paths. And I think that's clear now that Shane's been retained, or for the time being is retained, and Dable's been fired. But yeah, so
Shane still hasn't talked about it publicly, right?
He's not going to speak until the bye week, which I think is just kind of crazy. I know that GMs usually don't speak a lot during the regular season. I understand they're really busy, but I feel like in this particular situation where the head coach was fired mid-season, that's usually when a general manager does speak to the media, and I think Joe Shane should have.
I think the bye week will tell us a lot, like in terms of, I mean, I'm strongly leaning Shane's going to be retained at this point, but I think the bye week will tell us a lot. Like if we start to hear that the Giants are speaking about extensions with players on the roster, I think that's a clear sign Shane's coming back, because if he's not, you're not allowing him to extend a guy like a Cordell Flott, before the offseason starts. So I think the bye week is going to be very telling for what the possible future for Joe Shane is going to be going into next year.
Shane also hasn't really done the extensions until the bye week anyway. And Jermaine Illuminor was asked a couple of weeks ago if Shane had approached him or his agent about an extension. And he said, no, not yet. And there was some talk of like the expectation was that it would start during the bye week.
So if you see an extension, I mean, I think we could agree if they extend Jermaine Illuminor, Shane's probably coming back. I think that's fair to say, right? Like if you're John Mara, why would you allow him to extend a player for the next, that's just my opinion on the matter, at least.
I agree, but I'm also like, if they really are getting Chris Mara more involved, and if John Mara wants to keep making football decisions, like anyone with a brain is going to say that the right decision is to extend Jermaine Illuminor, right? Like I don't want them to be like, well, he can't do it because he's not going to be the GM. Like anyone who's the GM should be extending Jermaine Illuminor right now. Like we need him. And same thing with some of the other guys like Cordell Flott and, whoever, but it does worry me a little bit because, I'm like, I don't know if I would extend Wandale Robinson. Like, I think that that's a position that maybe we could upgrade if we have
Let
the
his market
assets.
develop. Let his market develop. Yeah.
Right. So that's the one thing that I do worry about. Like, to me, Jermaine Illuminor is a no-brainer. I don't care who you are, but I'm also like, are you going to let him go after every player that's going to be a free agent? Because maybe the new GM or whoever wouldn't agree on certain players. I don't know.
Yeah. Good point.
It's going to be interesting.
Jason, thank you so much. He says, I would like a Spags Kafka pairing if he would agree. We keep the same offensive principles and head coach could focus on the defense game management, in my opinion. I just don't think Spags is going to be a head coach here. I don't.
I love Steve Spagnuolo. I always wanted him to get another opportunity as a head coach. He's not the guy I want. Not at this point in time. I'd rather. I know Giants fans hate him. I would much rather Mike McCarthy. And Mike McCarthy's not my front runner. He's not my dream candidate. But I would much rather Mike McCarthy than Steve Spagnuolo as the head coach for the New York Giants. You could rag at him all you want. He's got a melon head, as somebody said in the chat. He's been somewhat underwhelmed. Like, you could certainly point to the fact that he only won one Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. People point to Dallas. At the end of the day, out of 5 years with Dallas, he had 3 consecutive 12-win seasons. Posted that on Twitter. I looked at the Giants' history. In the Giants' history since 1925, they've never had 3 consecutive 12-win seasons. And his last year with the Cowboys, when I think they won 6 or 7 games, Dak missed 9 of them. So I don't know. I think McCarthy's a solid coach. I'm not saying he's the incredible. He's not Mike Tomlin. I would much rather Mike Tomlin. He's not John Harbaugh. I'd rather LaFleur. But if we're talking a Spags versus McCarthy, I'm going McCarthy on that one.
But he kind of is those guys you mentioned. How many Super Bowls does Harbaugh have?
None. Oh, one.
How many does Tomlin have?
1.
How many does McCarthy have?
1.
What do they all have in common? They get to the postseason, right?
That's true, yeah.
We have to win regular season games before we can win postseason games.
Yeah.
I really don't know why Giants fans hate McCarthy. Like, you said that, and it's true. They all seem to hate him. A lot of them do. But what's the beef? I really don't understand it.
Maybe part of it's the Cowboys thing, like they don't want to hire a guy, and I think fans are scared off by Jason Garrett, what happened there, and they think maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. And he's kind of boring. Like, I get it.
He replaced Jason Garrett.
Yeah, but
they pushed Jason Garrett out of the door to upgrade with. No, I get what you're saying, but
yeah.
I think Giants fans need to realize the Cowboys pushed Jason Garrett out of the door so that they could upgrade with Mike McCarthy, and upgrade they did. They went to the playoffs almost every year that he was there. There's 3 consecutive 12-win seasons. Plus, all his coordinators all went on to become head coaches.
We talk about a CEO. Like, I've seen people use that as like when I've discussed McCarthy on Twitter, they've used that as like a knock on McCarthy. Like, oh, he had great coordinators. He was the guy that wanted those coordinators.
Right.
So, to me, that's almost a strength that you have a head coach who was able to pick out good coordinators.
Yeah, look at how bad our defensive coordinator is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So look at how good our offensive line coordinator is. So coordinators matter.
Yeah, for sure. And McCarthy hired Dan Quinn when he was the head coach of the Cowboys, and he wasn't even calling plays some of the seasons that he was there with Dallas. He was only calling plays after, what's his name, Kellen Moore. After Kellen Moore left, he started calling the plays again. But when Kellen Moore was there, you're right, CEO type. He hired a really good coordinator on both sides of the ball, and he said, "You guys are going to call the plays. I'm going to oversee everything else, make sure that my team is prepared." The Cowboys are always prepared. Maybe not in the playoffs necessarily, but in the regular season, they sure kicked our ass, and they kicked a lot of asses in the regular season with Mike McCarthy.
To be fair, nobody that's coached Dallas in the last 30 years has won a lot of playoff games. We're being fair.
It's hard to do.
Matter.
At the end of the day, it's really hard to win playoff games, especially Super Bowls. The fact that he has 1 Super Bowl is a crowning achievement.
Like people pound the table for Tomlin, and Tomlin's a great coach, as is Harbaugh. But people pound the table for these guys, and they pretty much have the same resume as Mike McCarthy, where they have 1 Super Bowl. They get to the postseason, but they always seem to fall short. Like I said, for me, he's not my first choice, but you got to win regular season games before you can win postseason games. We don't win regular season games here and haven't. And outside of 2022, we haven't in some time. This is the 3rd year in a row. We're actually a couple of years ago, we were 3-8 because of Tommy DeVito, but we're 3 years in a row. We're out of the playoffs before Thanksgiving. And, I would by far take a 12-win season and getting knocked out in the second round of the postseason and build from that than trying to have to fire everybody and rebuild everything else and then start over again at 4-13 every freaking year.
Yeah.
I'd rather be frustrated losing playoff games than frustrated being out of the postseason by Thanksgiving. It's just me. I want to win football games here. It makes it much more enjoyable to watch.
You have to be in it to win. You have to be in it to win. Like, you have to give yourself an opportunity. Like, we should know as well as anybody, the Giants were far from the favorites in the last 2 Super Bowls they won. You have to give yourself a chance, and if you get hot at the right time, you can win. So
exactly,
get me Mike McCarthy. I would much rather Mike McCarthy.
I mean, who saw Washington going into Detroit last year and beating them?
Yeah,
maybe Washington. Yeah. Other than that, I don't think anybody said, "Yep, I have the Commanders." Beating the Lions in Detroit. I didn't have that on my bingo card last year. VT Jake, thank you so much. The Giants are always a top 5 NFL market, no matter the situation. Lame duck GM, shit defense coordinator, and the Giants head coaching job is always an attractive job. Nobody's turning it down.
I think it's even more so attractive now than it has been, 4 years ago or whatever it was, because we have so much more talent on this team. And the quarterback is the biggest piece, right? Like when Joe Shane came in, he had Daniel Jones and Saquon, and then what? Like a crappy offensive line, practice squad wide receivers, obviously had a 5th and 7th overall draft picks, which is exciting. But outside of that, like he had so much to clean up and redo in the building and get them up to speed on how they should be doing the draft and technology and all that sort of stuff. Like it was, I have to assume it was probably very daunting. And I think this time around, like whether it's the GM or the head coach that's coming in to interview, you have to look at this roster and think like, all right, well, the defense looks pretty good. We get a couple solid players this offseason. We get a good defensive coordinator, and like we could be in business. Like it could, in theory, be a quick turnaround.
Yeah, and I 100% agree, and I also agree with VT Jake. Like the market in itself is an attractive destination for sure. But to Adriana's point, it's more attractive than it's been in years past when we brought in other head coaches. The main reason, of course, being Jackson Dart, but in my opinion, at least, the other main reason being the fact that Mara has shown patience with Brian Daboll. In previous years, those coaches only got 2 years. Like if you're a guy looking on the sideline, you only gave Pat Shurmur 2 years and a year with a rookie quarterback, and you got rid of him. You only gave Joe Judge 2 years, and you threw him out the door when Daniel Jones missed the second half of his second year. So in years past, he's had the quick trigger finger with the head coach. If I'm a head coach now, I'm like, well, he gave Daboll more than enough time. He gave him 4 years. You give me 4 years with Jackson Dart, I could flip this thing real soon. So that on top of what you said, I think makes it even more attractive than it's been in more recent times.
Yeah, you got a good young quarterback. It's definitely it's an admirable position to be in without question, because you ain't got to worry about that position, and that's obviously the most important position. And then you can build around him, and a good quarterback makes a head coach's job much easier. Giants Realist, thank you, says, please God, no McCarthy. Somebody just mentioned this. He is Dr. Garrett. I love that everybody still uses Dr. Garrett. You can tell they've been with Chris and I a long time when Dr. Garrett comes around. Keep taking swings at up-and-coming coaches till you get it right, just like you would drafting quarterbacks. Yeah, I don't agree with that, because I'm sick of losing, and you build a losing culture, then players don't want to stay here. Then you're going to lose. You're going to lose Malik Neighbors if you keep losing. He's going to say, screw this. I'll go get my money in San Francisco or Washington or whoever the hell has got New England. They're winning games. I'm going to get a boatload of money anyway. Why the hell would I want to play for the Giants if they can't get their shit together? If they can't keep the coaches here, if they keep turning shit over because we keep hiring the wrong guys.
I don't necessarily disagree with it. I don't think there's a perfect science to a head coach. Like if you love a first-time guy that's never coached before and you think he could be the savior, go for it. But I'm also not going to turn my back on Mike McCarthy because he's a retread. Like I see a lot of people, I don't want to retread. Why not? Mike Vrabel was a retread. He's going to win Coach of the Year. Andy Reid was a retread.
Yeah, I was going to say him.
Look at the success he's had with the Kansas City Chiefs. Tom Coughlin was a retread. He won his 2 Super Bowls. So I don't think there's a perfect science. If you're enamored with a guy, Mike Tomlin, right? He was a guy that was a first-time guy. We all talk about all the time how great of a coach he is. There's obviously several other examples, McVay, you could point to, so on and so forth. But I don't think there's a perfect science. I think you picked the right guy. It's just my mindset, and I think it's a lot of Giants fans' mindsets, that we want to try something different. The Giants haven't had a guy that's had head coaching experience be a new hire at that spot really since Tom Coughlin. You could say Pat Shurmur, but it was limited experience, and it was shitty experience at that. So really since Tom Coughlin, we haven't had a guy. So
an established head coach.
An established head coach who's had a winning trajectory throughout the course of his career. Mike McCarthy would bring that. Several of the other coaches that we are dreaming about potentially becoming available would bring that. But that's just my mindset. I want them to try something different. But if they go for the home run swing, I think McCarthy would feel more like you're going for a double and you're trying to hope that he gets the team on second base, and then you bring in that coach 4 years down the road if he can't knock it over the wall. But if they want to go for the home run, of course I'll support it and I'll be excited. But I'm also not going to turn my back on a guy like Mike McCarthy. I think people are ragging on him way more than they should. I completely disagree with the Jason Garrett thing. Jason Garrett, in 10 years with the Dallas Cowboys, had 3 seasons where he had double-digit wins. The other 7 seasons, he was basically 8-8. Never won a Super Bowl. I disagree. Just because they both came from the Cowboys doesn't mean that Mike McCarthy is as poor of a head coaching candidate as Jason Garrett would have been. He wasn't a head coach. He was an offensive coordinator. But here's my mindset on it.
It makes sense.
I get passionate.
No, you didn't say what you got. No, I just don't like to just keep taking swings at it because, like I said, if you have a rotating door head coaches, which we've had before we had Dable, the 3 coaches before him lasted 2 years, and you constantly have a rotating door. You're building no continuity. They all come in with different game plans. All the players got to learn this stuff. They're all going to want to do things their own way. It's just there's no consistency. It's hard to win like that, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell them they can't take a swing at a Kubiak or a Jesse Minter or whatever. I know those are some of the hot names out there, and I'm not saying I'd be mad if they did that, but what I don't want is for them to hire one of those guys and then we win 5 games in 26 and 27, and then they're firing the guys again. We need some kind of consistency here, so, but it's tough. It's tough when you're losing football games all the time. They did give Dable a lot of time. So, Rich, thank you. He says, if Spags is hired, can our edges work at a 4-3?
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, without question.
Brian Burns played in a 4-3 quite a bit in Carolina, and Kayvon played in a 4-3 during his time at Oregon. And also Wink Martindale ran a multiple defense, so he ran 3-4 and 4-3 base fronts. So even though Bowen's a little bit more 3-4, he also, when he was, I think he's a little multiple too. I see Brian Burns put his hand in the dirt quite a bit. So the base defense really isn't even that important. It's really more about the splits of how often they run nickel versus how often they run dime. But I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, their pass rushers getting after the quarterback, whether they're lining up in a 2-point stance or 3-point stance, the goal is the same. Just attack the offensive tackle and get after the lineman or after the quarterback. And I think they'll be able to do that regardless of 4-3 or 3-4.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more hybrid than it used to be. I think you have a lot of hybrid edge rushers this day and age that are part linebacker, part defensive end. It's just not a lot.
It's very rare you run into a defense that is exclusively 3-4 or the 4-3. They have interchangeable parts.
Yeah. Chislo, thank you, says, can the Koch family just buy the team and hire a CEO? Be the best case scenario. That'd be pretty amazing. Let's just hope Mara gets his shit right in the offseason. And next year at this time, we're talking about making a playoff push. There'd be a change of pace for us and all Giants fans, and it would be really nice. And with that said, that brings us to the close of another edition of Giants Collective. As always, I thank all you guys and girls for tuning in. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done it, hit the thumbs up. It helps us out. Don't forget to subscribe. Check us out on TikTok and Instagram. You can also hear us wherever you get your podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, and, of course, Amazon. If you listen to us on Apple, leave a 5-star review. Big shout-out to our sponsors, Doer, Manta Sleep, Sleeper, and SeatGeek. And, I've got a big game against the Lions, and we'll see how the hell we do, and we'll see you here Tuesday. I think we're just going to do one show next week because obviously next Thursday is Thanksgiving, so we're not going to have a show on that day. But anyway, we'll figure that out next week. So for Adriana down there, Anthony over there, Chris down there, it's the Bad Ditas. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Go watch the Bills whoop some ass, and we'll see you next time. We out. Peace.